The Farmhouse, a Hickory Grove novel, written by Elizabeth Bromke, narrated by Cecily White. Chapter 1. Maggie. Maggie Ingle stared blankly at the fresh white stack of pages on the table in front of her. It all seemed so simple. Too simple. "Who knew you could print out a divorce?" she joked. Becky shrugged. "You still have to appear in court. That's what I did with Andrew." "Did you print the paperwork first?" Maggie pushed the packet away and rose from her chair to check on Becky's foils. 10 more minutes, then we rinse, by the way." Her best friend adjusted the magazine on her lap.
"My divorce was almost 20 years ago. Things were different. You had to duke it out in person, then drive to the courthouse with him. You had to sit there, sobbing like a wretched housewife, while he white-knuckled the steering wheel in painful silence. No hiding behind a computer screen. No surprises. No printing."
Becky lifted a folded foil from her face to take a sip of her tea.
"I can't believe I have gray hair sprouting up. Is this what happens after 40? The clock starts ticking?"
"For some, yeah. Not me." It was meant to be playful, but Maggie's voice came out flat and lifeless. She could use a gray hair or two, as long as they came with the wisdom she'd been desperately lacking most of her adult life. Maggie moved the paperwork to the island and prepped her kitchen sink for shampooing. Becky scooted the chair back from the table, its rubber stoppers scuffing the linoleum floor in little black smears, like rubbed-off mascara.
"You're lucky, Mags. I don't know why you bleach your hair when you have that vibrant, natural red."
"Blondes have more fun, right? At least that's what they told me. Seems to be a big fat lie, though." Maggie recalled using the same stale response the year before, when she and Becky reunited in the Linden family home down the hill past Main Street. After almost 2 decades of living in Arizona, Maggie's best friend found the freedom to return home to Hickory Grove. All it took was 18 years of single momming, and then voila! Becky's son did the same thing that most well-raised children did. He packed and left for college. Scrubbing a dried Cheerio from the back corner of the sink reminded Maggie that she herself had about 14 years left until the last of her brood was out of the house. Did she have to wait that long for a fresh start, too? "When did you know it was over with Andrew?" she asked Becky, drying her hands on her apron. A frown took hold of Becky's mouth.
"Immediately. I wouldn't have married him, actually. But then, well, Theo."
Her voice trailed off and she flipped the page. It was the only tattered reading material Maggie had on hand, a July 2016 edition of Hearth and Home. Outside the bay window overlooking Pine Tree Lane, tiny white flakes were floating down onto the front lawn. Travis never did mow the grass back in October at the end of a long, dry fall, but Maggie did. She gave those tall, weedy blades a good old-fashioned buzz cut. The fresh snowflakes ought to be thankful they didn't have to fight their way through weeds down to the earth. Instead, they settled neatly atop of the crunchy, yellowy yard. If the clouds promised to hang around, maybe a pretty sheet of frosting would blanket Maggie's unadorned property in a stretch of brilliant white. Maggie swallowed over the stubborn lump that had formed at the base of her throat, but it would not go down. "Yeah, but you don't regret having your son," Maggie pointed out, checking Becky's roots. Becky waved a hand.
"Obviously I don't regret having Theo, but Andrew and I weren't soulmates. I mean, are you and Travis soulmates? Was Gretchen a love child or a surprise?"
Becky asked, rhetorically. Maggie wasn't a prude, and she loved a good joke, but she wasn't laughing at the fact that both of them wound up pregnant so soon after high school, and with men who fell so short of their
Sample complete. Ready to continue?